Just 1 minute presentation from my side. So my name is Goncalves. I work as an Agile coach in the company called AgileByExample in Germany. I wrote a book about Agile retrospectives, and I've been working in the software industry already for some years. And since I started to work with Agile in 2005, I could not go back. And I'm here today to share a bit of my experience, what I learned from my practices, and this is what I want to talk with you. Before I start, I would like to ask something. How many of you are actually already doing Agile software development? Kind of, okay. How many of you are still doing waterfall? Kind of, okay. Very good, no problem. Sorry? It depends on the client. Yeah, that's true. Depends on the clients. Right. So I would like to start this talk a bit explaining, as a summary, explaining why I decided to move a bit to Agile. Like I said, I started in 2005, and at that time I was part of several projects where basically we had always the same problems. We were always late. The quality was not the ones that the clients wanted. We always had, like Mary said, a big bang integration at the end of the project. And at that time, we decided that we need to do something different. Definitely, we need to try something else, and we need to try something that at that time people called Agile. So I will start explaining. So we tried this stuff called Agile. So what is Agile software development? So basically Agile software development is not more than a group of methods that allow customer collaboration and allow the requirements and solutions to evolve over the time using empowered teams and cross-functional teams. These are the Agile methods that are quite common on the market. So there are, most of them are used, that we use Scrum, but there are several of them: XP, Kanban, Extreme Programming, Hybrid, many other software Agile process. Agile is a methodology that has 4 core principles. One of the principles is individual over interactions. Individual and interaction of process and tools. So what does it mean? And this is, I want to be really clear, because this is a misconception that is on the market. Does not mean that we don't need process and we do not need tools. Of course we need that, especially when we are in remote distributed environments. But what does it mean? It means that basically we should always use face-to-face conversations. We always should engage with our colleagues in the face-to-face discussions. One quite common example that I face many times when I join companies that are using traditional waterfall and tools and so on, one of the most common things is I find people most of the times commenting and communicating through Jira tickets, for example, through version 1 tickets, and so on, so on. So they are seated next to each other, but basically they just communicate using tickets and using virtual tools instead of actually using face-to-face communication. So face-to-face communication is always the most important way to communicate and to discuss. Don't use tools that don't engage that. Working software, that's the most, the working software is the way that we measure progress. In the typical waterfall projects, what we do is we follow the plans, the Gantt charts, and we say we are ready in a couple of weeks, we are ready in 2 months, we are ready wherever. So in Agile software development, the only measure that counts is software that is deployed in the production machine. Software that the client can use, software that the client can start provide feedback. Customer collaboration. Some time ago, I had a colleague of mine that he said that this is another one of the most common things, that he cannot go to Agile because basically he cannot get the customer. Every time they do something, they always try to get the customer called product owner, but the product owner is not there. And this is one of the most biggest problems that Waterfall has. And this is one thing that Agile tries to solve. Agile always tries to involve the customer, the final user, to get as much feedback as possible. So collaboration is the most important thing that development team should have in order to get great software. Following a plan, responding to change over following a plan. So this does not mean that you actually do not need to plan. So plan is everything, but plan is nothing. So basically, of course, you always need to plan. Of course, you always need to do risk management. But the idea here is that you can always get change requests at any time of the project. And all those change requests are actually welcomed. So the highest priority satisfies the customer and deliver what the client wants. So, of course, you are always welcome to change everything what you want, of course, inside of some rules, but we don't need to go through all these change requests like in a typical waterfall process. When you guys were part of it, you are part of this change request committees where someone wants to change something, they need to submit a form, and then the form needs to go to the committee, and so on, so on. They need to do a huge analysis on the architecture and so on. In Agile, it does not work like that. So basically, if you deliver something to the client does not like, they immediately can put a request or put something on the backlog, and immediately we can respond to the customer change. So what are the biggest advantage now, the benefits of Agile software development? One of the things that I find it extremely interesting when I started to work with Agile is the way how teams start to working together. So before, when I go there, there's always this division between QA, architects, development, business analysts, and then people always work in silos. They say, oh, this is not my job, this is not my job. I'm just responsible for the testing, I'm just responsible for the development. How many of you actually feel this? I believe most of you feel that it's not my job, it's QA, right? I'm just here to test, I'm here just to develop. And this is one of the good things of Agile, actually, because we need to create cross-functional teams. You need to put everyone working together, and we break these different functional silos, and we put everyone working together, discussing the problems, and having the right approach to deliver the software for the client. Self-empowered teams. If we do Agile in the proper way, we actually are able to delegate a lot of the freedom to the teams, and the teams have the whole power to decide whatever they want inside of their own universe. And this is a great way to motivate people, like Mary was saying, engaged people, allow them to decide their own destiny, and allow them to decide what are the best solutions, because they are the ones that can decide the best, because they know how to tackle the problems that they have, not managers, not senior managers. They are the guys actually know what you need to do. So this is a common mistake or common problem at Waterfall. It's when are we going to get our product ready? And the guy, soon. But this is something that does not work in Agile anymore, because basically in Agile we have a cadence, and we have every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, whatever, we have a sprint that we want to deliver something. I remember this when I was preparing this presentation for you. Some years ago I was working in the project that I'm not exaggerating. I was part of a project that during 9 entire weeks, we had a weekly meeting, and one of my boss was asking to our colleagues, so when this is ready? And I go, oh, this is 99% ready. In 1 week, it will be live. It took 9 weeks for those guys to go out from the 99%. And with Agile software development, this is a bit different, because basically we don't develop this forever. We have cycles, we have iterations, and every 2 weeks we show something, we break the story in small pieces, and we ship something to show to the customer. And another great reason to have those week cycles or 3 weeks, or the short sprints, is to get a lot of quick feedback. This allows us to ship the product to the market, or not necessarily to the market, to internal clients, get the feedback from the clients, and like I said before, put change requests, new stories onto the backlog, and again, give it back to the client and get extremely fast feedback without losing so much time. The Agile software development turns everything upside down. So basically before, in waterfall projects, it was a project-driven development. This means until we are ready, we continue developing. In Agile software development, the paradigm is shift. So we always fixed the time, and we change the size, the requests, the requirements. This is really a completely different approach, because we guarantee that we always go live with something, and we always guarantee that's the highest priority feature that goes live, instead of just spending a huge amount of time developing without no results whatsoever. And more important, we start to make money faster. So I have a story for you that I always like to share. So right now I'm in the process of writing my second book, and I try to do an agile approach, so that you understand actually it's not only on software development that we can apply. So what I do, I start to write chapters to my book. It's a bit what Jürgen Appelo does. I started to write chapters to my book, and every time I have a chapter ready, I ship it to the market, to my mailing list, and my mailing list gives it back. And then I adapt, and then I write a second chapter and a third chapter. But now what I did different than Jürgen was the fact that now the book is written in 3 different parts. And now the first part is ready. And I sent the book to my list, and I said, guys, the final price will be around $15 to $20. If you buy the book right now, how it is, it's $5. And actually, you get all the rest of the book for free because you are already supporting. So actually, I start to generate a small amount of money, and the book is not even ready. But we have something to ship to the client, we have something for them to be happy, and we have an opportunity, and that's the most important one, to get feedback. Every time I send a chapter to those guys, more than half is completely rewritten again, because I get so much valuable feedback that it changes everything. But another important thing is I can already start generating money without even having a fully written book. Another really great important thing, it's a continuation of what I said before. Agile allows you to continuously adapt, getting feedback, and then come back. So basically, this is the expectation of the client. This is an Agile way. So basically, you develop, and then you get feedback, and you come back to the expectations of the client. And you can do this over and over again. In Waterfall, typically, you have the requirement phases. You collect all the requirements, all the analysis, and then you let the troops go on their own way. They spend months developing, and basically, when you reach the final destination, you come back to your client with your software, and most of the time, the software is completely different than what the guy wanted to have. How many of you spend hours in the end of a waterfall project that you need to test, you need to fix bugs, you need to test, you need to fix bugs, and basically spend all over weekends working like crazy, 12, 14 hours to make the product ready. And at the end, when you deliver it, it's not the highest quality possible. So actually, Agile solves a bit this problem, because Agile does not have this waiting until the end to integrate everything. Like I explained, every single sprint we are developing, testing, analyzing, and delivering to the client. Every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks, depends on how your company works, we get all these small cycles. So basically, there is no extra hours. It's a continuous pace, always in the same way, without you guys getting completely burned out. But the thing is, if all this stuff is great, why not all Agiles go into, well, why not all companies go into Agile? Because a lot of people that comes from Waterfall, they believe that Agile software development is a mess. It's too much fluffy, and it's too much messy, and there is no planning whatsoever. In reality, there are much more planning in Agile software development than waterfall. In Agile software development, you actually have 3 levels of planning, which is the program, project, release, whatever you want. You have the sprint, where you plan every 2 weeks, every sprint, you plan whatever you are going to do. And then you have the daily, where actually you plan what you are going to do through the day. So as you can see, this is a huge misconception that the community actually has. There is a lot of planning with Agile software development, in many cases much better than actually waterfall. So, sorry guys, I'm Portuguese, so I need to put I was trying to look for a, thank you. I was looking for some Polish, but I could not find. I'm not that familiar yet with Polish football. So what I mean is, there's a misconception that Agile, all the management lose the power. That's not true at all. Of course, Agile, we delegate a lot of stuff to the teams, we delegate a lot of stuff to people, but one of the misconceptions in today's world is that when you say delegate, managers don't take any responsibility. That's not true, because the managers are still the leaders, or some of them are the leaders, and they are the ones setting the direction. So they are still super important to the company. They are the ones defining the rules, the boundaries, and then let the people go. So actually, there is not lack of management, and management is even more important than before, but it's a completely different management, it's a completely different approach. They really think that there is no documentation whatsoever in Agile software development, which is, again, not true at all. We say that we prefer people communication with people face-to-face over documentation. We prefer rapid software development over documentation, but still there is a lot of documentation. Every single day I spend a lot of time with my team to define what can we take out from definition of done, what can we leave it out, what the financial department needs, what our clients need, manuals, etc., etc. We still keep a lot of documentation, but a lot of people that comes from Agile software waterfall things the other way around. Because, you know, remember, in the Agile, what we mean is always what counts is software development machines, and even if says working software over comprehensive document, it's always, this is the priority, but again, there is always the second part, which is as well important. Another thing that a lot of people in the waterfall world think is that we don't have any kind of predictability. Agile software development is a mess, and we cannot predict anything. Actually, this is extremely not true. So right now, I'm together with a couple of colleagues, we are managing a project, which is over $5 million project, spread in 3 different countries, and we know exactly, more or less, in which, not exactly the sprint, but we know in which month we are going to end. And we are ongoing now for 1.5 years, and we know exactly that end of 2015 we will be ready. And Agile software development has something really cool, because every sprint we can measure exactly what the team delivered. We can predict how many stories, how much software we can produce until the next summer. And actually, if we are not able, we can immediately react and do aggressive scope management and take it away. But we have fantastic tools to predict exactly where we are going to land. Lack of engineer discipline. A lot of people think that, like I said before several times, a lot of people think that basically Agile software development is a mess and no one has any rules. This is not true at all. So there are things like in XP, we have pair programming, then we have TDD, we have AVTDD. There's a lot of techniques that Agile software development provide and reinforce the ideas of good engineer discipline. So actually, in this case, I believe as well that they provide more techniques, more ideas, so that we can do better software engineering. And of course, as an outcome, the quality is going to be higher. There is one thing called in Agile software development called definition of done. Definition of done, I'm not sure if, how many of you know what definition of done is? How many of you do you actually follow it? Okay. It's my experience. A lot of people knows it, but a lot of people do not follow it. But actually, if you are strict with that, if you define exactly what definition of done needs to have, and if you are really strict, I can guarantee the quality of your software will improve drastically. If you make automation, green builds, everything, peer review and so on, the quality of your software improves so drastically that you will not have to care anymore with a lot of regression testing and so on, because the quality is built in. Another misconception is engineers do not like to change. How many of you are here software engineers, developers? How many of you were really upset when someone told you that you were going to try Agile software development? See, not even one person. So this usually comes from senior management. They really think that that development people will not be happy at all to try Agile software development. I was a developer myself, and one thing that I learned in my life, developers can be tough guys, engineers are different creatures. I was one of them, like I said, and they can be tough. But one thing that I learned from engineers, guys, is that no one will never tell you that they not want to try out something that will not make their life easy. So if something that you are going to try makes your life easier, I can guarantee that everyone will try something to help them. And another misconception, Agile does not scale. Of course Agile scales. There are companies out there that they do it pretty well. I think everyone knows Spotify, right? How many of you do not know Spotify? Okay, that's the answer. So Agile scales quite nicely. Of course, there are other frameworks that I'm not going to there. SAFe, it's a quite polemic one. They have good things there, bad things. Craig Larman has their own stuff. So there are really nice ways to scale software, Agile software development. But after you go there, you start to go into a company and you start doing software Agile development, you will hit the wall. That's for sure. I do not know anyone that is not even suffering a lot of common problems. Even Spotify, I know some guys that they know, yeah, we show a lot of cool stuff in the companies, but we do not show our problems. We have a lot of problems as well. So everyone that does Agile software development has their problems. What are some of the biggest problems? Well, resistance to change. Because Agile software development is not just a process. It's not something that, like I used to say, the top manager says, this is Scrum stuff. This is from the development stuff, right? Where everyone says, no, this is not my job. I do QA, I do testing, and software and senior management. I don't care with these things over here, because this is software development stuff, it's the nerd stuff. But you need to change completely different approach, because actually it's a completely different organizational culture. It's a completely different mindset. And one thing that is important to refer, I really like Agile, but there are some companies that cannot adopt Agile, at least in the short way, because the culture is completely different and completely against to the Agile mindset. I worked in the company some years ago where basically they had a company of save my ass, which means basically that they did not like transparency. They did everything to hide information in order to protect themselves. As soon as they started to implement Agile, you can imagine, it was a mess. I never saw so much political things going back and forth, because the whole culture of the company needs to change. And if your company is not ready for this cultural change, don't go there. But this is one of the biggest things that I see as a cause for Agile adoption failure. Okay, now I need to get again Ronaldo, so it's my payment back. I was proud of Mourinho, so now I don't like so much Ronaldo, even if I'm Portuguese. Another problem, like I referred before, it's management support. So how many of you are engineers that feel that management does not understand much what you are going to do, and they still come to you and still ask milestones for 1 year or 2 years or features? I have 5 minutes, right?
More like 3.
Okay, more like 3. Okay, so I will do. So a lot of people feel like that. Like I have my own top management is a tough. They are cool people. They are still a little bit not understanding the Agile mindset. I still try to do Agile software development with them, and they still ask me detailed features in 2 years milestone planning. It needs completely to change. Management needs to support that. Another big problem is not all of us have the right skills to do Agile software development. TDD, ATDD, automation, you need the right skills to it. And not all of us will have them. So these are big, big problems in our companies. Project complexity. Scrum is really, really cool in the way that works in 5, 6 teams. If you start 5, 6 persons, if you start to scale it, it will work, but it's really tough. So you need to know what you are doing. And that's one of the big problems that people are complaining is the complexity of projects. They are really, really tough. A lot of people try to get product owners or customers, but basically they really run away. So it's really hard to get the product owners to give feedback. It's really hard to get the customer. Customer wants to buy something and then basically come back after a few months with the product done. This is one of the big problems that companies are struggling. You need to involve the customer since the beginning. And the time perceived to change. A lot of people, companies think that Agile software development is something that we can change, implement in the company, and you can change in a couple of weeks. That's not true. As you know, Agile software development is something that takes ages. Like for example that Mary said about Toyota. Toyota started Lean in 61, and they said they are not even close to finish it because it's a journey forever, and it takes a lifetime. And a lot of people think that in a couple of months we are there, but no, it's much more harder than that. So all of this is a really, really a long journey, not an easy one. There will be a lot of obstacles, but never give up, because whatever you do using Agile software development will bring you tremendous benefits. I saw it. I was on the waterfall world. I changed to Agile software development, and I can guarantee you it brings a huge amount, tremendous benefits. So this is what I had for you guys. Thank you very much.